50th year celebration and intensive. So thank you all for joining us today. All right, we'll go ahead and get started, and I will present our first speaker of the morning, Representative Park Cannon. State Representative Park Cannon serves the citizens of Georgia's House District 58, which encompasses a diverse cross-section of 20 neighborhoods within in-town Atlanta. She was awarded the 2021 Legislator of the Year by the National Black Caucus of State Legislators. She currently serves as the Secretary to the Georgia House Democratic Caucus. She is also assigned to the Ethics, Insurance, Small Business Development, Creative Arts and Entertainment, Human Relations and Aging, and Code Revision Committees. Hard-working woman. Her legislative efforts focus on reproductive justice issues such as access to quality health care, housing, and education. Representative Cannon seeks to stop the erosion of affordability for basic needs, which she believes are the foundations of social stability. She also devotes her legislative work to protecting Georgia's most vulnerable, women and children, the elderly, and the LGBTQ+ community. Representative Cannon attended the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, where she earned a Bachelor of Arts in Hispanic Linguistics and a Bachelor of Arts in Linguistics. She also minored in Women's and Gender Studies. Her executive education was completed at the Harvard Kennedy School of Government on the subject of police accountability and voting rights. Awesome. Representative Cannon is fluent in Spanish and conversational in Portuguese. She works as a labor doula and early childhood educator when out of session. And she's also from my state. She represents my state. Yeah. So I'm excited, and you all please give a big round of applause to State Representative Park Cannon.
Y'all, I am super excited, and just as was shared, I am a part of so many different communities, as are you. One of those communities that helps me get through the work that I do and to be a bold leader is my dance community. So this morning, I am going to do a little bit of movement for y'all, and also ask y'all to participate. Yeah. Because I'm going to lead you through a few of the steps of a dance I created. I have been a dancer since I was, yay high in rural Georgia, and I really feel like it helped me move some of the pain and distrust out of my body. So when I went to college, I was excited to be a dancer. But I needed to do a piece in order to prove to this dance program that they should accept me. And at that same time, then Senator Barack Obama was running for president. Yeah. And so his slogan or tagline or campaign line was, "Yes, we can." So I created a modern dance piece and performed it in front of my whole high school and took it on the road on my dance college tour because it was all about uplifting young people who at that time felt like, I can't vote yet. How can I be impactful? And we realized that we could create a coalition with one student who played a guitar, one student who could dance, one who could do sign language, and we did our Yes We Can piece. And when I went to college, I started a modern dance company at UNC Chapel Hill. Awesome. And I created this dance piece entitled Stigma, not realizing that I would go into public health work and I would talk about all of the stigmas in the legislature. But this morning, I want to play for you one of my favorite songs that I do a lot of cha-cha with, but lead you through some of the steps of stigma. So you'll be able to do this while seated, or if you want to stand. Now would be the time for my favorite song, Golden by Jill Scott. All right, so we're just gonna two-step it out. If you wanna get up, you're gonna put your foot in the front every time. In the front, to the back, down, to the back, to the back, to the back, together, to the front, to the front, to the front, to the front. All right, now we're gonna hit 1, 2, 3, and clap. 1, 2, turn it this way. 1, 2, 3, this way. 1, 2, just the front now. 1, 2, 3, clap it up. 1, clap it down. Turn it around. Over here. You got it. I see y'all. Now we're gonna stop and roll. Shoulders. Roll. Other way. Roll. Shoulders. Roll. Now your arms gonna float out. In. Out. Down. Again, we're going out. Bend your knees. In. Arms go out. Out. Straighten your legs and down. Start the cha-cha again. To the front. To the front. To the front. Your hips are twisted. Twist. Twist. You should be twisting your obliques. Ooh. To the back. 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 You're touching that corner. That corner in the back of the room. Left to the side. 1, 2, 3. Clap. Where we turn it now. I see. Now let's stop again. Roll your shoulders, shoulders, shoulders. Other way. Y'all look good. What? I love it. We're gonna hug ourselves. Roll our shoulder, roll our shoulder. Arms up, arms out, and your head goes around. Hug yourself. Roll your shoulders. 1, 2. Arms up, out. Go ahead around. Let's take one arm and pull it to the side. And then lean and bend that leg. Ooh, roll that shoulder. And come all the way up. Other side. Arm. Lean over, bend that leg. Roll that shoulder out. Out. We love it. One more move. We're just going to chop it out right here. Grab yourself a partner real quick. Grab yourself a partner real quick. All right, the same move that we were doing. Your foot is in this go. Out, touch. Your feet should not hit each other. Touch hands. Yes, look up at each other. Smile. Roll your shoulders. Yes. We love it. Take one hand, a crossed hand. You should be crossing hands with this person. Yes. Now somebody say, I'm the lead. Who's the lead? Choose one. You're going to twirl that person. Twirl that person. Yes. All right. Yes. Let's do it one more time. Other person. Cross that hand. Say, I'm the lead. And twirl them. I love this circle of 3 in the middle. Clap it up for yourselves, y'all. That's a good one. Thank you so much. Yes. Amen. Woo. Now, the Spirit Award for that dance class goes to you, ma'am. Come up and tell me your name. Yes, ma'am. I saw you there. Yes, ma'am. You had a great time. Amen. What I just gave out there was a copy of my new book. And I'll talk about it in a little bit and how I got to the point of writing this book. But first, I just want to talk to you about what it means to live in these intersections for me in this time. Right now, I'm a legislator who goes to the Capitol between January and April. But the rest of the year, I have to make money, and I have to do the work that I feel drawn to. As a light worker, as a person working in public health, I have to resist burnout, and I have to really dig deep in order to keep doing the work that I'm doing. Because as I stand here with you today, tomorrow when I get back home, I have a client who's due. It's her first time having a baby. she's looking to me for resourcing. And so how do I build myself up? How do I make sure I have a backup doula? How do I make sure that I've given her resources where she doesn't have to call or text me, but she can log into a portal and see what she needs to be doing right now as we lead up to labor? All of those pieces I can't do if I'm burnt out. And so I'll just start off by saying, please find what it is that helps you push past fear, deal with secondary trauma, deal with those competing priorities. Help you figure out, is that crafting? Is that dancing? Is that running or walking? Let's just popcorn around the room. What are those, not just habits, not just routines, but rituals that you hold sacred that help you in this work? We're going to get one from each table. So who's got one at this table? Yes, ma'am.
Meditating.
Meditating, absolutely. At the back table. Yes.
Music and dance.
Yes, okay, so we were in it this morning. Yes.
My faith.
Your faith, amen, absolutely. Yes.
Gardening.
Gardening, wow, planting, grounding, yes. One over here. Martial arts. Yes, okay, and then one over here. Ooh. Gardening as well, gardening as well. I hope that you will take each other on that journey. Stay a part of a cohort and remind each other, hey, have you gardened lately? Hey, when was the last time you went to a dance class? Hey, can I come to a church service with you? Hey, can I do some community service? Hey, where do you go to meditate? Or what do you listen to when you meditate? Let's bring those pieces out in each other, because I'm so blessed and so grateful that people continue to bring out the pieces of me that show that I'm just more than just a legislator who goes to the Capitol for 40 days. Because I do feel a strong mandate to protect people through policymaking. I do. I want to make sure that their lived experience is better and better instead of worse and worse. But sometimes my colleagues don't want me to be the subject matter expert on something. They would rather it came from a more homogeneous body, maybe someone who looked more like them. And so I have to deal with imposter syndrome. I have to deal with blatant racism, overt sexism, things related to my age, to my gender identity. I have to really push past those. And I know that you do too. And the people who you serve do too. So again, grounding us every morning or every evening or after every client, figuring out, what is my little ritual that helps me get through this? I'll share you 3 of mine. When I'm on the Capitol floor and something happens and I feel triggered, I reach for my milagro. Does anyone know what a milagro is? Yeah? Okay. Yes, right? And it does translate that way. It is a small metal token, ultimately. Something very small, but it's etched with someone's face on it. And so I can feel in the crevices. I can have my hand right here and be holding my milagro, really receiving miracles and blessings from those other than who are in the room, and really help to calm myself down and think about the smooth parts and the bumpy parts and the rough parts and how that relates to what I'm dealing with. Helps me understand, all right, this might be a little bumpy right here, listening to this person overtly be racist to my community, but on the other side, it's gonna be smooth. Maybe when I get up there, or one of my colleagues gets up there. Second thing I do, I get right here into my valley point. Everyone go and grab your hand in the valley point. You will feel a V here. I'd like for you to close your eyes, if you can. We're gonna take a 2-4 breath. You're gonna breathe in for 4, 2, 3, hold it for 2, 1, and breathe out for 4, 3, 2, 1. Switch hands. You're gonna breathe in for 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold it up at the top for 1, 2, and breathe out for 1, 2, 3, 4. You can open your eyes when you're ready. I get into my valley points because I have to remember this is going downhill right now. This feels like we are about to burn and crash in here. But how can I actually start to bring that back up? And then the last thing that I do is I always have something that heightens my senses. A lotion, an essential oil, something that I don't have to use a lot of, but can potently help bring myself back to my senses. I love the smell of lavender, I love lemongrass, I like orange to wake me up. I'm sure I'm seeing you nodding, and so it seems like you participate in this too. But these are actual practices that at a time like this, we have just exited a public health emergency. We know that we really have not. We have to bring these to the medical journals. We have to help people understand these are important ways that we get through a time like right now. Because the stakes are so high. In my state, the state of Georgia, we battle to the bottom, to the worst. And I don't love to speak about that. I wish that we were the best, but I must speak about it so that we can change it. One of the statistics that we have is similar to those around the rest of the country. Black women pass away 3 times more in childbirth. We found that to actually be consistent across race and ethnicity, and gender, for folks who are gender queer, who are carrying, for folks who have a little bit more money or a little bit less, we're seeing it continue to permeate. But then when you start stacking on top of that, the fact that our insurance commissioner has never investigated when people ask their medical insurance company, hey, can you pay for a minimally invasive fibroid surgery? But instead they only pay for the hysterectomy. This maternal mortality pipeline has so many more pieces to it. And as frontline practitioners, you get to see it. And you're seeing it from the mental health side of it. We're also understanding that suicide rates are going up in our state, for young people specifically. And then we have legislation that tells young people of transgender experience that they cannot play sports. It tells them that they cannot move on past hormone blockers to hormone replacement, that they must remain in a place of limbo. These are the reasons why, stacking on top of it, putting on top of it, I feel a mandate to go to the Capitol in my finest. I have had to realize that fashion helps me get in the room. And I never thought that that would be. I thought I just enjoyed shoes and enjoyed dresses, liked putting things together. But just like the military, when they put on their armor to go do their work, I've had to realize I have to do the same too. I have to figure out how this legislator, this committee chairperson, who might not want to hear my bill on expanding access for pregnancy services, until he sees something that piques his little sexist interest. In that moment, it feels a little painful almost in myself. I don't want to internalize that as a way of being, but I've had to learn that is the society that I'm working with. And I thought that it was just that they thought I was just young and they couldn't understand me. But I actually realized that as a light worker, as a doula, this spirit that is moving through me is what they are up against. Their ancestry sees my being spiritually and is coming for the attack. So much so that one day there was a piece of legislation that was 2 pages long. It would determine how you could register to vote in Georgia. We were concerned about it, but it was just a 2-page bill. We woke up the next day and the bill had 96 pages added. Wow. It was a 98-page bill. At 8 a.m., it passed out of its committee. At 9 a.m., it went to the Rules Committee, which determines the debate on the floor, the rules of the debate. Do you get to amend the bill? Do you get to speak for a long time on the bill? How does this work? They passed the rules to be a very narrow rule set. We could not make amendments, and there was limited debate. The bill ended up passing, changing the way that Georgians could register to vote, where they could vote, how they could vote, who they could vote with, who they could help. absentee ballots, you name it. It passed the House and went to the Senate. Immediately passed the Senate. And the House adjourned, of which I am a member. So most members started going down the staircase this way to the garage, but I got a text that said, hey, did you know the governor is signing the bill in about 10 minutes? And I went down this stairway. I went to the bill signing because I serve as the secretary of our caucus. That means when bills are signed and the governor signs it with these pens, he gives copies of those pens to members who are in attendance. And if members can't attend, they were going to the parking deck, the secretary gets those pens and gives them out later. Well, I arrived to the bill signing door just as I normally do with many other bills, and everything was different. The door was locked, the shades were pulled. I went around to the ceremonial door. That door was locked and there were security officers there. So I started knocking on the door. Next thing I knew, I was being arrested and taken to jail. I spent 4 hours in the Fulton County Jail. Was threatened with 2 felonies, one being obstruction and the other being disrupting the General Assembly, which after 2 weeks, the charges were dismissed, thank God. But that was only because, as the district attorney reviewed the findings, she saw so much racism in it, so much stigma in it. They ultimately said that I was annoying and that I might start another insurrection. Me.
One person.
By myself. Someone please tell me how. And so understanding in that moment, sitting in the jail, I had no clue that there was about 100 people outside the jail clamoring for my release. All I knew was I was in the jail. And as I continued to think through what was happening, I started really having these cosmic connections, I feel, that maybe you felt before on an issue. These cosmic connections to individuals who have fought for the right to vote, who understand voting as a reproductive justice issue, and how when you take away the vote, you take away people's ability to have bodily autonomy. You create reproductive coercion. You create harm. And so I'm super grateful that those charges were dropped. But in the aftermath of all of that, I had to go back to legislative session that next day to those same individuals who walked up to me one and said, "You wanted to be arrested, didn't you?" Taunting me, taunting my spirit, taunting the work that has been done. And so as you visited the Capitol yesterday and went and lobbied with your representatives' staff members, I'm curious, what did you experience there? How did you feel? Did it feel warm and open and inviting in the office? How did it feel separate in the hallway? How did it feel when you got closed in on the elevator? What did it feel like walking over there? I am looking for one person to tell me, what did Auntie Janet say that y'all needed to change?
Shoes.
Oh, but I needed someone else from here. It's okay. Even what you're wearing, even your shoes at that point, how does that affect your psyche and ability to focus on an issue? I'm super grateful, that the work that you do will continue to push us forward. But I'm here today to ask you very concretely, have you considered running for office? The statistics say that women have to be asked 8 times. And if we're talking gender, men only have to be asked once. And then they'll do it. Being subject matter experts or not, in the state of Georgia, to become a state representative, you need $400. Which is why when I was 23 years old, I read the state constitution and saw that you could become a member of the House at age 21. And I said, I'm late. I need to move forward towards this. I quit my job working at an abortion clinic and I ran for office. So many people said to me, you can't do it. How are you going to do it? You don't have all these political connections. How are you going to do it? What are you going to run on? How are you going to tell people that you are openly queer in 2016? We had just kind of started reclaiming that term. It had been a very pejorative adjective or a very pejorative noun, and we had started to build it up and say, no, this is the coalition of rainbow experiences. This is how I can advocate for transgender people and intersex people who can be impacted by the same anti-trans law in a different way, but also not be in either one of those communities. It talks about sexual orientation, but also gender identity, but also reproductive justice. What is your reproductive justice story is what it talks about. And so I've been so excited to think more people will run for office. They will think about, you know what? I've run a clinic before. I've dealt with stigmatized people before. I could go and run on creating access for mental health. I could do that. That could be my platform. And instead of having stars and stripes as my logo, I could have glasses. I could have a stethoscope. I could have some earrings with a globe on it. Really thinking, how do we queer and abstract running for office? Because at this point, it is status quo. I am telling you, us as legislators, we need help. We need y'all to be a part of our teams. We need you to join as our chiefs of staff, to people who understand facts, science, studies, research. We need you to send us that information, even if you do not receive an email back. We need those facts in our email, because when it's time to vote on a bill, most legislators will pull up their phone and see how many constituents asked them to vote for this, how many asked them not to. They might have a staff member who does that for them, and so they have the printout on their page. But sometimes we have to, on the fly, go and make a well speech, make a parliamentary inquiry. We need to have those facts right there. We don't need to be making them up or just looking them up on Google. We need the information directly from you. And if you feel like your legislator is not responding, is not using the information that you are sharing, is not understanding, you run. You run for office. I'll share with you the journey to running for office, as I talk about in this book. You gotta have, I say, a kitchen cabinet. I'm from the South, I like to eat. And so I think about, what spices do you need? You need your cinnamon. Your cinnamon, that is gonna be your media person. They're gonna give a spicy, high-level update of your campaign and move on. You need your brown sugar. That's your little intern. They're sweet. They'll talk to anybody. They'll help fill up a room. They'll help fill up the water bottles too. You need your seasoned salt, your Lawry's, your all-purpose seasoning. That's your campaign manager. How does that person do everything you need? They'll write a press release. They'll come and fill up the balloons. They'll get the yard signs. They'll go and vote with you. So think about, in your life, who is your cinnamon? Who's your brown sugar? Who's your Lawry's, your all-purpose, your adobo? Who's that? Those folks can be the people who rally around you. And it doesn't have to be a rash decision. Oh, I'm going to outseat this person. No, it is you are running for the people that you are running for. And your platform stands regardless of if someone else's platform stands. I had to realize, in order to go to the Capitol and fight for access to abortion, I had to fight for pregnancy, and I had to fight for live birth. And so when they wanted to ban access to reproductive health care in 2019, and the legislation came before our desks, and we sat there, I felt this cosmic connection. I was wondering what that was. Why did it feel like I needed to do a direct action? And as I looked around, the other women in the room, I could see in their eyes, I could feel vibrating off of them that they wanted to too. So at that point, many of us wrapped ourselves in caution tape on the House floor. We held hands, we turned our backs, we cried intentionally. What are those pieces of you that you would be willing to put out on Front Street so that others can have access to care? So that lawsuits that get built off of that legislation will show that there was opposition. I truly feel like most of us are willing to fight for the things that we believe in. We might fight differently. You might go to a 7:30 a.m. committee hearing and put on record your access to abortion story, or you might email it to the legislator and get a follow-up meeting, or you might just come and just watch the proceedings on the floor. But all of those things you should be thinking about as building your journey to being able to fight for the people that you are representing. Now, I will share that in the legislature, being a bold leader sometimes means I have to fail forward. I have to really think about failing as my first attempt in learning. Maybe I didn't go to that committee on time enough so that I wasn't able to get on the sign-up list, or the sign-up list for legislators was circulated yesterday in a secret meeting that I was not invited to, but I need to circumvent that and somehow still get on record. Sometimes I'll have to realize I have to get out of my own way on this issue. So what if I pass the bill over to this Republican chair? If he's going to run it, I'm happy to do all the research to make it happen, which is how we got postpartum Medicaid expanded in the state of Georgia for 12 months. We started out telling them that people were dying 1 year after childbirth. We needed our Medicaid to pay for that. We needed to try to stop that. They said, oh, it's too much money. In a $28 billion budget, it was too much money. So they said, you can have 6 months. We said, okay. And then the pandemic happened. And the federal government stepped in and said, anyone who is on a Medicaid roll in your state, you cannot remove them. And it went for over a year. Yeah. And they realized it wasn't actually that expensive. And actually they saved lives. So they came back and expanded it to 12 months. But did they let me put my name at the top of the legislation or anywhere on it? No. But that's okay. I had my facts from my researchers, from my mental health community, from my perinatal communities, so that I could create a well speech that talked about the timeline, that said where I was and why I had a stake in the issue. And because you are so steeped in the work that you are doing, you are credible messengers for legislators as well. I don't want any legislator to be able to take that power away from you. And I want you to remember that as you decide to run for office, might not be a lot of people affirming you. Same folks that you think are right here, excited for you, they might not. And you might feel away. You might think that this is personal. It's probably not. Folks probably are unable to understand how to show up for you in this new version of yourself. Like, do they walk in and, only smile and take a photo with you? Or can they just go to their Rolodex and send you 5 contacts via text message, say, hey, I think they might give you $5 for your campaign. That'll pay for 2 yard signs. There are smaller ways to break it down. And so in my book, I talk about all of this. I'm curious, who will commit to running for office today?
Get the book.
You will get the book. You will? What's your name? Teresa Moore, what state? In Nevada. Wow. All right. Now, in running for office, there's a lot with it. You can run locally.
Yes.
For school board.
Yes.
You can help impact people's dress code policies and bathroom policies. Curriculum, books.
Yeah.
How different would it be if you have an 18-year-old in your home, or 17-year-old? Cousin, nephew, niece. What if they ran for school board? They just got out of high school. They know what it's like in those classrooms. In most states, you can run for school board at age 18. In some states, you can run at age 19 to become a judge. How different would it be if when folks go to court for a traffic ticket for a moving violation, they find someone in their peer, in their cohort? How would that revolutionize the way that we think about public office? Even if you want to run for state representative or city council. City council, fast policy, lights are off, you got to help fix it. Come to this ribbon cutting, you got to fix it. The mayor's budget, you got to fix it. Also, you're on these different committees. Or if you run for state, long issues. You study maternal mortality. You deal with the differences in fibroids. You deal with all of these pieces. You finally get different cities to agree. Then you run a statewide bill. Then you get money for it. Then you get it sunset. You do it again and you do it again. Thinking about all these different ways to affect people through policy making is how I've realized that when I deal with all that in the chamber, I have to pull it out into the world. Because as much as it is live streamed, everything that we do in the Georgia legislature, you could pull up the website right now, and if there's a committee hearing, you could watch it, and you could email your legislator afterwards. But most people don't. We don't have, time or energy. I want to put on your plate, once a year, visit your state capitol. Once a year, visit your school board. Visit your city council. How can you maybe impact in a small way those decision makers who are having control over your lives? So I'm excited today that you have committed at some point to running for office. And I'll be there for you. My email is on the inside. But I do want to just pivot a little bit just to talk about how in this moment right now, although we know that it's time to sound the alarm on believing that people's lived experience matters, how what actually might be our path towards progress is self-led. And that comes from understanding that the group that you are in right now, this has to translate out. So even if you don't want to run for office, how do you impact someone's self-learning journey to realize that they're the right one? How do you become really a subject matter expert? You could decide that you will be the researcher for someone, and you will help them on that journey. I really do think that since our state of mental health in Georgia is so poor that we have had to put a new suicide hotline out, 988 if you dial it now. Since we're dealing with that, while we're also having these culture wars, I almost don't even have trust that the 988 is going to work and it's going to route people where it needs to be. And so how are you the catch net for the people on this self-led journey towards running for office and the folks who are impacted for it? I think that in being the catch net, you'll start to feel this burnout. You'll start to feel this lack of resources, this scarcity mindset. And so I want you to come back to the things that we put in the room this morning, the things that are rituals for you, and how you bring people on those rituals. I'm excited to share that this year we got the most diverse class of legislators we've ever had. We have 5 Nigerian elected officials, 4 Muslim elected officials, 3 Asian elected officials, 2 more folks in the queer community. And all of these people decided to become decision makers for policy by stepping out of their day jobs. Because actually, you can do both. Remember I shared with you, I serve as a labor doula, I also teach preschool, and I'm a legislator. Because we're only there half of the year. And so how does your calendar build to say, you know what, January through April, there's someone else in my practice who can take on most of my Monday through Friday clients. Maybe I can take a few in the evening, or maybe I can start doing some clinics on the weekends. How do you start building your life around the opportunities that we need you to step into? We desire that you are there. If there's a way that your family is moving right now, you're in a place that you like, but you wouldn't really want to fight for it, and you might be able to move, or you might be able to place one of your family members somewhere so that if you wanted to run, you would be able to. All of these things, to think about as mental health professionals. I'm really hopeful that I will start to see your campaigns come to life, and that they will start to address the fact that a lot of legislators, they don't know their attachment styles. They don't know how they deal with anger. They're not sure how they push past fear, but you have strategies and techniques that you can bring to the policy-making spectrum, and you can make better. When I think about the work that y'all do, I'm deeply curious. Is there one person who you've served who you're wondering, where are they right now? Did I do enough? Did they push me away? Was I unable to? What were those systems that pushed me away? I wonder, were you paid enough? Were you given the resources that you needed to stand up for them? Could your state or your city have a pilot program that allows for you to provide the care, but they just don't know? They've just never thought about it this way. These ideas, this person who comes to mind, that is your end user of your campaign. That is the person that you always go back to remembering. You can change your name, you can change some of the demographics, but that's your initial listen to me speech. That's your stump speech. Your campaign slogan, what does that look like? And I'm talking, this could be running for a national organization that you're a part of's executive board. It doesn't have to be public office. But how do you get into those leadership positions where you say, on our executive committee, we're going to be deciding whether we provide child care at this conference coming up, or whether we pay for people's hotel rooms and their incidentals and also their transit, or if we get a pot where if you have a little bit more, you give some. Or are we going to create this organization's bylaws to write in child care and paid leave for both parts of the people having kids? Or if you become a foster parent, really getting to where are you going to situate yourselves in these organizations, in these experiences, to be subject matter experts? I hope that today you're reflective of the societies that you're a part of that maybe could do a little bit better. And they just need you to be that person. Now, unpaid labor, as legislators, we get paid $14,000 a year. So, the stake in it must be deep. The understanding that you are going to create equity must be rich enough for you for a lot of these offices. But you can supplement with your consulting firm. You can supplement with a few other things that you do. We got to think about all of this. Because what about our next generation? People ask me all the time, what gives you hope? And sometimes tongue-in-cheek people will say the next generation. I really mean it. I have seen how bringing in high school interns to my office has changed the way that we operate. I've seen that young people in college right now grappling with whether they stay in school or they have a job is not just the only conversation now. It is also layers and layers on top of that. I've started to see how they have pushed past the stigma that comes to them that says that young people don't vote. When really the statistics show that super voters, 2 out of 3 votes, election cycles they vote, mostly ages 55 and up. Well, those folks have been voting their whole lives. And so when you start to look at 18 through 23-year-olds and you're putting the data on top of each other, that's not how statistics work. That's not how research works. You understand that, of all people. And so gratefully, I'm excited about the next generation. Who is a young person that you are pouring into right now? I want you to picture their face, their hair. What are they wearing? Where are they coming from? Where are they going? What have they experienced? How do you pour into them some more? Now you're probably like, I have kids, I'm pouring into my own kids. I cannot choose some, nebulous high school child. But maybe you really can. Maybe you do have a little bit of bandwidth because it's small things. Take them out for a lunch and learn, even if it's just to bring them Panera into your office. They'll remember that. Get them and take them to the state capitol. Bring them to a school board meeting. Have them help you prepare research or talking points to talk about the mental health things that you're seeing in your community. How do we take these burdens off of us that seem like they're such big decisions and make them, broken down and manageable? I do see that there have been more individuals who focus on mental health running for office recently. In the state of Georgia, we now have 5 practitioners who are doing the work. and who helped to shepherd in this magnanimous piece of legislation which gives mental health parity, which says that now, however you are being paid for as it relates to your arm being broken, you're also being paid for a new diagnosis of bipolar 2. This is important. This is huge. Never would have got there without those people in the room. As much as I care, as much as others care, it's really, really important that as we think about what being a bold leader means, it might not even mean going and marching on the Capitol and putting it all on social media. It might be taking that 7:30 a.m. call with that committee chairperson about this pilot program and bringing that young person with you with the statistics who can pull it up real quick on a Google Drive and cast it and have the music going and everything. All of those pieces, it's so important. And I don't want it to be overlooked because young people right now feel empowered but are starting to wonder if they're going to be able to find their way in a world that agrees too much and doesn't disagree enough. They're being casted as too activisty, when really they're just responding to the world that they see. I do think that, right now, with us coming from all the different states that we're coming from, there are some similarities and there are some differences. I'd love for y'all to think about what other state can I learn from? What can we do in our city different than your city?
California.
Oh wow, California. Yeah, California is very, very interesting.
Medicaid expansion.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
We have not expanded Medicaid in Georgia.
No.
California has. Tennessee, a lot of other southern states. Yeah, we're told it's too expensive. Told it's too expensive. But in thinking about all these different places, I also want to just question for you. Have you ever considered what the world would be like without you at the table? So as you look around the table right now, there are some shared experiences. What is something that you know that has happened to you or to the people around you that might not have happened to anybody else? Unless you claim it, folks will take it from you. I've had people tell me that my experience in the jail really didn't mean anything. As a person who never wanted to be arrested, ever, I felt a lot of shame, I felt guilt, I felt embarrassment. And people said, what? How do you feel embarrassed? This went viral. People see that voting rights is under attack in Georgia. Dealing with that, I've had to figure out, okay, well, what do I want to set forward a path on? And so I realized I want to keep knocking. I'm not going to stop. Because doors will open. Now, the door opened to the police car. What are those experiences that you've been through? Maybe you've been through a traumatic birth experience. Maybe you've, sprained an ankle one time. Maybe you've dealt with changing your hair and people not understanding, oh my God, it's you. Oh, I didn't realize it was you. What are those pieces that you hold? You're biracial. Folks never really know what, how to, place you or what side of you is coming. How do we flex that as an equity muscle? How do we determine, no, I'm taking this power back. I truly am excited for all that you will do. I want to be on this journey with you. I think we're at time. No, I think we're at time for us to maybe do some questions. Awesome. Well, thank you all for having me. Let's chat.
Representative Cannon,
Yeah.
thank you so much. I don't think I've been this inspired this early in the morning.